It is important that you have an understanding of the basic operating requirements of not only your role, but that of other stakeholders on the apron. Servicing of aircraft involves multiple people, vehicles, equipment and service providers. These include, but are not limited to, catering and cleaning companies, refuelers, and ground handlers. You must only enter a bay where you have an operational need to do so or are servicing the aircraft on that bay. High-lift vehicles service the passenger cabin and require access to and from the aircraft on both sides. These vehicles are generally used for catering or cabin cleaning operations, and in some instances will be required to facilitate the offloading or boarding of disabled passengers when on standoff bays. Whilst catering operations take place predominantly on the starboard or right side of the aircraft, some airlines require servicing from the L2 door on the port or left side of the aircraft. When operating vehicles and equipment around the aircraft, be aware of high-lift truck operations. Ensure equipment does not impede access to cabin doors. Allow enough space for high-lift trucks to manoeuvre into and out of position, allowing room for the truck's turning circle. When approaching or reversing away from the aircraft, the high-lift truck will be guided by a marshaller. Be aware of high-lift truck movements, the location of the marshaller, and consider the driver's limited visibility. In some instances, the marshaller may seek assistance from other operators involved in the aircraft turnaround and request equipment to be moved to assist with the truck's movement. Provide assistance as required. When positioned at the aircraft, the truck will be supported by stabilising struts. If walking around the truck, ensure your feet remain clear of these stabilisers. Aircraft refuelling can be a very dangerous activity, and you must take special care when operating around refuelling vehicles and personnel. Refuelling activities may take place from either the port side wing on the left or the starboard side on the right. When entering and exiting a bay, SOPs for refuelling trucks require them to manoeuvre in a U-shape. The trucks are not permitted to reverse into position. Always be mindful to leave a clear path for refuelling trucks to position and exit. In the event of an emergency, refuelling trucks require an unobstructed path away from the aircraft. Hydrant points are pressurised. Ground equipment must avoid contacting the valves and couplings, which could result in an uncontained fuel spill. Whilst the fuel product used has a relatively high flash or ignition point, potential remains for fuel vapours to be ignited by sparks or hot vehicle exhaust. Hence, vehicles should not be driven through the refuelling hazard zone. Personal electronic devices or PEDs and other electronic devices may also cause sparks. It is important that any electronic devices used within the refuelling hazard zone are intrinsically safe. You must ensure that the emergency stop button, also known as the due-high emergency stop for the refuelling hydrant system, is unobstructed. The due-high emergency stop is generally located on a light mast marked with a red emergency stop sign. An access path to the emergency stop button is marked with red and white hatched keep clear markings on the pavement. Aircraft system malfunctions or refuelling procedural failures can sometimes result in uncontrolled fuel release from the aircraft wing vents. It is important that vehicles and personnel remain clear of wing vents to avoid being doused in fuel and potential ignition. The refuelling hazard zone is a 3-metre radius around the aircraft filling point, refuelling truck, hydrant pits, and aircraft fuel vents. Equipment and vehicles must not be positioned within the refuelling hazard zone. The refuelling workspace is indicated by the refuelling truck and 6 cones. Never drive through a refuelling workspace or between the truck and aircraft. A bonding cable is connected from a refuelling tanker or truck to the aircraft during fueling operations to prevent the buildup of static electricity. Do not drive or position vehicles or equipment over the bonding cable, as this may compromise its function. If the bonding cable is disconnected, advise the refueler immediately and do not attempt to reconnect the cable. When staging for an aircraft's arrival, ground handlers and airline ramp staff should be mindful in how they position equipment in equipment storage and clearance areas, so as to maximise the available space to allow other operators involved in the turnaround to access these spaces also. Ground handlers or airline ramp staff have a significant amount of equipment on apron to service and turn around an aircraft. This equipment includes pallet loaders, belt loaders, baggage tugs and rolling stock, as well as pushback tugs, toilet and water trucks. Following arrival of the aircraft, ground handling or airline ramp equipment should be permitted to position their equipment to the aircraft first, followed by catering and cleaning vehicles.